energy producers and consumers. Learning objectives. Define primary producers. Describe how consumers attain energy and nutrients. Life requires energy. You think about energy in your life all the time, whether you realize it or not, and not just when you grab an energy bar or before exercise. To control your weight, you must balance energy you take in, energy your body burns at rest, energy you use during exercise, and energy your body stores as fat. And when you burn fossil fuels, we realize energy captured and stored by organisms millions of years ago is what we use. But where does all this energy come from? And how is it transferred from one organism to another? Primary producers. No organisms can create energy, but organisms called autotrophs can capture energy from non-living sources and convert it into forms living cells can use. Autotrophs also store energy in ways that make it available to other organisms, which is why they are called primary producers. Primary producers are also the first producers of energy-rich compounds that can be used later by other organisms. All life depends on one or another kind of primary producer. Algae and plant are also called photosynthetic primary producers because they harness solar energy through a process called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process that uses energy from the sun to convert carbon dioxide and water into carbohydrates and oxygen. This process is also known as 6CO2 plus 6H2O with light energy yields C6H12O6 plus 6O2, or in word form is carbon dioxide plus water plus light energy yields carbohydrates and oxygen. Autotrophs can capture energy from non-living sources and convert it into forms living cells can use. Autotrophs can also store energy in ways that make it available to other organisms, which is why they are called primary producers. That energy powers the conversion of carbohydrates and water into energy-rich carbohydrates such as sugars and starches. Photosynthesis produces oxygen that is released into the atmosphere and removes and stores carbon dioxide. Without photosynthesis, there would be no oxygen to breathe. On land, plants are the main primary producers. In freshwater ecosystem, plants share the role with algae. In sunlit parts of the ocean, algae do most of the heavy lifting. In tidal flats, salt marshes, and mangrove forests, certain bacteria are important primary producers that harness sunlit areas through a different kind of photosynthesis. Life without light. In 1979, biologists made an extraordinary discovery that revolutionized our understanding of deep-sea life. In the pitch-black depths of the ocean, strange animals thrive around volcanic vents that spew superheated water. Where do these animals get energy? Water gushes from these vents and carry energy-rich inorganic compounds such as hydrogen sulfide. Some bacteria not only tolerate high temperatures near the vents, but can harness chemical energy from those inorganic molecules. These use a process called chemosynthesis, in which chemical energy powers production of carbohydrates. Around the vents, chemosynthetic bacteria live inside the tissue of certain types of worms and large clams. Those bacteria supply their animal hosts with carbohydrates, which the hosts use for an energy source. Chemosynthesis is a process that uses chemical energy to produce carbohydrates, and it's known as carbon dioxide plus oxygen plus hydrogen sulfide equals chemical energy yielding carbohydrates plus sulfur compounds. The discovery opened researchers' eyes to the ecological significance of chemosynthesis. Thanks to studies inspired by this work, we now know that chemosynthetic primary producers are more common and live in many more environments than anyone expected. There are vast energy sources available on the world. Photosynthesis and chemosynthesis are two of the main sources available. Consumers. Consumers are organisms that rely on other organisms for energy and nutrients. Some of the main types of consumers include carnivores and herbivores and omnivores. Carnivores kill and eat other animals. Carnivores include snakes, dogs, cats, and things like giant river otters. Herbivores, like this military macaw, obtain energy and nutrients by eating plant leaves, roots, seeds, and fruits. Common herbivores include things like cows, caterpillars, and deer. Omnivores are animals that eat both plants and other animals. Human, deer, pigs, and white-nosed coati are omnivores. Animals, fungi, and many bacteria cannot harness energy directly from the environment as primary producers do. These organisms are known as heterotrophs. They must require energy from other organisms, usually by eating them. Heterotrophs are also called consumers. Consumers are organisms that rely on other organisms for energy and nutrients. Other types of consumers include scavengers, detritivores, and decomposers. Decomposers feed by chemically breaking down organic matter. This process produces detritus, or small pieces of dead and decaying plant and animal remains. Bacteria and fungi, like these mushrooms, are decomposers. Scavengers are animals that consume the carcasses of other animals that have been killed by predators or have died of other causes. The king vulture is a scavenger. Detritivore, such as a giant earthworm, or chew or grind particles into smaller pieces. Many types of mites, snails, shrimp, and crabs are these types of animals. They commonly digest decomposers that live on land and in small particles. Many organisms do not fit neatly inside the tidy categories ecologists try to place them in. Some animals, usually described as carnivores, can also fit in other categories. Many aquatic animals eat a mixture of algae, bits and animal carcasses, and tiny bits of organic matter. Consumers, often lumped together, may also differ from one another in many subtle ways. Herbivores may eat different parts of plants they eat. That's important because different plant parts often contain different amounts of available energy.